Welcome back, Raw Thoughts listeners, to another episode with me, MaKenzie Tiegs. Today, I am super happy to have Tedi Surge with us. Fun story, she was actually at a photo shoot with me 2 years ago getting the cover made for this podcast. So,
sorry, I just interrupted. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Funny small world.
So, yeah, welcome, Tedi. I'm so excited for you to be on and just be able to talk with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been a teacher, you're now in yoga, I know you from real estate. Like there's all of these different things that are Tedi, but like who's Tedi to you?
Who's Tedi? I think it always is evolving, and I think that's some of the confusion of being a human, right? It's ever changing. You have these goals and these ideas of who you are, but who you are like on the day-to-day is who you are, right? Like today at 2:30 p.m. is who I am, right? So right now I'm a podcaster. And I actually do have a podcast as well, the GirlPower podcast. But I liked when I saw on Instagram the other day when you took realty off your Instagram name, because that kind of, was a brand, right? But you're like, I'm actually MaKenzie. Yeah. So don't get it twisted, everyone. I'm a human that has many hobbies, many passions, many goals. So I don't want to just be put in a box. And I think as women too, people want us to be put in boxes, right? Yeah. Even like my broker, he was like, I think you really need to focus on real estate because is everything else even making you the same amount of money? And I'm like, well, that's very archaic masculine thinking that it's all about money, which money is wonderful. We know that. I'm not denying that in any way, but it's also an exchange. And where I have issues with things is things need to feel good. So if I'm taking money from a client that really bothered me for 60 days, but yes, we got the deal done, it doesn't feel that good. If I host a yoga class and, there's 10 women and someone breaks through and cries and they feel better about themselves and the class was $20, I don't know. Right. So who Tedi is that she's just a deep thinker and a deep feeler, and it looks a little confusing and messy on the outside, but at the end of the day, the goal for her is to, just live and feel and love deeply.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I love about you is because you do also so many different facets, so many different things. You're always on the move. You're always doing something. And it's that's intriguing to me. And it's cool to watch. So how have you got into this? I mean, have you always kind of had this mindset of this curiosity, or where have you found that?
I think it was circumstantial. I had to pivot and move and make things happen for myself just all the way, since the beginning, really. I mean, my mom was a single mom, so she was at work. So I was kind of taking care of myself in the ways that I wanted. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to play tennis and get private lessons like all the other girls. I wanted to, go to the beach on spring break. So I'd work at the mall 3 jobs. I just made it happen. I wasn't going to sit around and make excuses for myself of why I couldn't do it. So I think that plays a role in who I am today in my late 30s. But it's just, I don't know. And like you said, I was a teacher. I was a swim coach. Sonia and I, my sister, had a all-girls beach camp in Santa Monica for 6 summers. I do feel like I've lived a lot of lives, and it's very interesting because now looking back, it's I feel like those things didn't even happen, and they weren't traumatic or anything like that to make me block them out. I just am so certain in where I want to go and who I am today that the past doesn't even matter. And I think that we all get stuck in the past so much that it paralyzes us. So I kind of am really into truly tapping into letting it go and having tools like Kundalini Yoga to do that, not just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. There definitely has to be other modalities, and that's what's really cool about bringing you on because, there's one way of talking, and that can be a very self-realization of letting it out. But like you said, there has to be other ways as well. So teach us a little bit about what Kundalini Yoga is and how you got into that.
Okay. So another thing I did in LA when I lived there, I've been in Boise 3 years now. So just for perspective. But when I was about 24, I didn't want to work with kids anymore because I just need a break. And I got a job at a gym. That's another job I did. I worked at a hospital. I've done it all, really. So, like, I'm an expert at nothing, except Kundalini, I would say. I feel really good leading that. But I was at the front desk just doing sales, membership sales, and this beautiful human came in, like, with a swirly energy about her and, like, wearing white and just really feminine. And her name's Saska Neal, and she said, "Darling, come to my class." And I'm like, "I'm working, lady. Like, I don't get to just come to your class." Like, and she's like, "No, you can." Like, she was just like, "This is what you're doing is not for you," And she kind of just saw that, and she didn't even know me. But she kept going and taught her class, and I stayed at the front desk. But I didn't make time that week to go to her class when I was off, and it just totally changed my life. And it's those moments, too, when you're able to listen or, like, feel the call from someone's comment, like we were talking, off camera today about when people give us validation to live our mission and stuff like that, that you're like, oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, signal from the universe. I needed that.
Yeah.
A little confidence boost. But Kundalini, okay, let's say what that is. It's a yoga practice. It's ancient. It was done in caves thousands of years ago. Derived from the Sikh religion. I am not a Sikh. I am a Christian. I am an open-minded, open-hearted person. So don't be scared, especially if you're in Boise.
Yeah.
But it's all goes back to Kundalini energy. So that's at the root chakra. Have you heard about chakras?
Uh-huh.
So your root chakra is where your power is, your confidence, how you fit in. And so if that is out of whack and unbalanced, life's hard. It's already hard. So it's all about bringing that Kundalini energy up your spine through the chakras, all the way through the heart space and the throat, through the third eye, and up to the heavens to connect you with your highest self. And there, knowing who you truly are and where your destiny is, and connecting the present moment to that feeling. And that's what Kundalini is. We're all hunched over on our phones, on our computers. And if you're hunched over, that energy gets blocked right here. It can't even get up through the heart, right? So we're all blocked off. Why don't I have a boyfriend? Why am I not feeling X, Y, and Z? Well, your heart's closed off. And yes, probably from pains of being a human, things that didn't work out for you, but also your energy. We are energy.
Yeah.
That's period.
Right.
We are energy. So uncoiling that Kundalini energy at the base of your spine and bringing it up through breath work, tied with movement and chanting. We do mantra. Mon is the mind. Tra is expansion. So expansion of the mind. That's Kundalini in a nutshell.
I love Kundalini.
Right?
I did it one time.
Okay, tell me.
And it was so funny because it's actually where we'll be holding the event at for this weekend. And she was like, yeah, whenever my husband describes this, he describes it as like your hands are over your head and your hands are clapping like this. And one guy was like, yeah, it's like kind of milking a cow. And I was like, no, it's like telling the universe, like,
let's go,
like bring it on, And so I actually took that. And when I was there, I was like, I just like the chanting, like the movement, like that feminine side, which I know that I have struggled with, especially being in very male dominant roles for work, very male dominant, environments where you have to be powerful and you have to like come with this masculine energy to be in charge. But then you also have to unravel that and have your feminine side show and be very nurturing at the same time. And so there's a lot of fight within me, I would say, of like my two energies. And before I had done Kundalini, I had gone to Reiki. And really all my chakras were off, like every single one of them. And I was like, I'm not surprised. That's why I came to you, because I felt off. And then going to Kundalini, and that is like one of my favorite movements, because I now use that even like going to the gym.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just like this openness, like you said, of like aligning yourself, getting to that higher power and that higher vision of like who's your spirit? Like who is deeper than, you know, you as the vessel? Like what are you actually supposed to be doing? And I think Kundalini also allows that playfulness to come in, non-judgmental. You know, one of the things that one of the guys said, actually, there was a guy in there and he's like, yeah, just close your eyes. Like they can't see you if you close your eyes. And I'm like, you know what?
Yes.
Like that really, who cares what they think? Because it's me and my inner world and my inner talkings that matter. And so why the fuck do I care what they think? Because honestly, I don't care what they look like.
No one's looking. That's something her name's Desi Bartlett. She's a pretty big wellness person. One time I was like, I'm so scared of public speaking. I'm just so scared. And she's like, Teddy, no one wants you to fail. Like, I feel like that's something like in a yoga class. No one wants you to, you know, be scared to try or be scared to connect with yourself. Like, everyone's there to leave whatever it is on the mat, get unstuck, do the work, and then keep going. And that's what I like about Kundalini Yoga is it's householder yoga, meaning you can have 9 jobs. You can be a gangster. You can wear, you know, like show up in a leather jacket. Like you can do real life and not have to become a monk, go away from society, not get married, all these things that some other things restrict you. Kundalini is not made for that. It's to make your life easier and find ease in your day. And going back to what you were saying about like being in alignment, there's something that we do in Kundalini. We use the word guru a lot. And a lot of people would think guru is you being my teacher or me being your teacher. That is not the truth. The truth is you are your own guru. You are your own teacher. And guru is about bringing darkness to light. So that in association with alignment is what you feel at the end of a Kundalini set if you allow yourself to be free.
Yeah.
And practice. And you know, even I've had young people come to class and like giggle and it's uncomfortable and like they like, you know what I mean? And I think that's cute. And what you said, it's childlike. But like they say Jesus was childlike, playful. You move around the room different ways in different sets. Kundalini has like thousands of sets. I don't ever teach this one, which is funny. I like it. I know what you're talking about. I've taken it, but I've never taught it. Yeah. I'm really into heart openers. I think that that's a really good place for most people to start. And right now I'm teaching the 10 bodies. So
teach us about that.
The 10 bodies, you think mind, body, soul, right? That's 3. I don't even think anyone would even think there's 3. They'd be like, I've got a body.
Right.
You know, depends who you're talking to.
Right.
But then there's the negative mind, the positive mind, your magnetic field, which is all this breath work and movement is building that. So you can be protected in this human existence and also call in what you want. And the bigger your auric field is one of them, your auric body. If that's bigger and that's really strong, you're going to feel in flow. When people are talking about, I feel good, I'm in flow right now, it's because your aura is big and open and shiny and bright and like people can see you. And there's some other ones, but yeah, we're working on awakening the 10 bodies right now in my classes. I have like online Zoom classes.
Cool.
Women across the country, like pretty powerful people gathering, which is nice. It's funny who you attract, you know? And then that's a good way to look at yourself is like through the mirror of who am I attracting? Yeah. Because I've been in places where, trust me, I was not attracting CEOs and founders and celebrities to be taking my classes. I was just attracting Joe Schmo, and I don't want to be Joe Schmo.
Right.
Bless him. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like cool, but that I don't want a mediocre.
Right.
I feel like that's how you feel about life too.
Yeah, like, it is. And it's something where sometimes I can't always describe like auras. Like I can describe really well like the energies, the positive and negative energies. And this is something that I even teach on is like we know our instincts, right? When we say we read a room, you're reading the energy. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
picking up on the tension, you're picking up on like how do you need to act? How can you show up? And it's something where like I can never explain that to other people of like really what an aura is. Is there a way for you to describe that to people?
It kind of goes hand in hand with another body I didn't mention, but the radiant body. Like when we met in the hallway,
Mm.
you were radiating. You look really beautiful and you're in a good place in your life. That's, I don't think everything needs to be described or put on paper, right? And I think that that's what Kundalini is. It's this yoga, this feeling, this like movement within ourselves that can't be described. I actually had someone on our retreat say, wait, hold on, what is this? How do I just like, she wanted it described. And I was like, it's not describable. It's feelable,
Yeah.
you know, and the magic and the miracles that happen when you have a practice. And maybe it's you mountain biking, and maybe it's you hiking, and maybe it's you even just having a victory in your work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's Kundalini to you. But I do really know, I know that you have to be able to be in alignment
Mm-hmm.
physically and mentally, like with your chakras, and just know how to tap out when things are chaotic and go back to your mat and do your work, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
like your aura, I mean, they say, so in Kundalini, you see a lot of people with turbans on
Mm-hmm.
and wearing white. Not my jam. Not about wearing it as a costume. Not a costume, but this is about yoga, right? So I was like, oh, let me get my Kundalini whites. I got all these dresses, a whole, thing in my closet. I do. And I love that. And I love that being that feminine side of me. But then I was like, okay, MaKenzie's wearing jeans. I asked you what you were. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be myself because this is about being raw.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why people are attracted to me.
Yeah.
But so they wear white as a container to keep all the energy in your body, and not sharing energies. And I think that's really important if you're a sensitive person. I don't know if you bubble up before you do your work in real estate or EMT or this. Like, we shouldn't share some energies because I don't want to take on your junk and you don't want to take on mine.
Yeah.
So that's the white. So they wear white as a projection, but also as a safety. And when you do Kundalini, you build one more foot of an auric field for protection. So that normally a normal person has 9 feet of aura. Like, you're in my bubble, that feeling? Yeah, get out. So it's like when you wear white, I guess you get one more foot of safety. And yeah, it's just, it's like we are all light, right? If we're all energy, we're these like swirling things. If you can just imagine us having bubbles around us, you can kind of picture what an aura is. And sometimes it's more dim. And if you're not doing the work, I'm sure your auric body comes in closer.
Bandwidth, yeah.
And you're scared and you're living in fear and weird stuff's happening to you. Just small things even, like not finding a parking space or getting a ticket or, someone took your bag, like that kind of stuff. That's all part of how your body's set up right now and like what you're allowing to happen because you're not in any kind of healthy practice with your mind, body, soul, and beyond.
I love that because that really takes the accountability for people on like when we talk about doing the inner work, like this is an amazing example of doing that inner work so that your outer world can be a better place for you and you can have better experiences. And, even, and I've noticed it and even talking with people, it's like, okay, if somebody, cuts me off, like, am I mad or am I just like, oh, you know what? It's totally okay. They're probably in a rush, like, whatever. And it's that state of mind, like not the mindset, it's the state of mind that you're in.
Yeah.
Because that's what matters.
Well, it's that joy. It's back to that play. It's like, so you got cut off. I'm more like, thank God he didn't hit me. Great gratitude. And I move on. Like, we all love to attach to things. And we're really good at attaching to negative things. Those things, those incidents getting cut off, the anger that we all feel. And then it comes in this whoosh of like how we self-medicate, alcohol, weed, drugs, whatever the hell people are doing, you know? And it's like, when you do all of that from the mindset being a little shaky to the self-medicating of, you know, prolonging your destiny from happening for you. Because if you have a destiny, doesn't that kind of mean I'll get there one way or another?
Right.
But in Kundalini, they say 1 year of Kundalini practice daily versus daily practice of vinyasa for 10 years is equivalent.
Whoa.
So it's a fast track to bringing your soul and your destiny to the present moment. And so why wouldn't you want to give that a try?
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't know that. So I'm like, cool, we're doing more Kundalini in my life.
Every day. You should join my morning class. I'd love to have you.
Oh my gosh. That is a really, do you know why?
I think it's just the energies. Because you're in vinyasa. I love vinyasa. It's hard for me. I'm not, you know, the strongest. I can do a headstand, which is always a fun party trick. But it's just not as soul-filled, right? It's not, I'm not attached to my breath. I'm in down dog holding my breath because it hurts. And I'm just not, and that is a class people look around.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like who's drawn to that, it's super rad and it should be part of your yoga practice because it is a part of mine on a smaller scale. But Kundalini, it truly, truly, so there's something called a 40-day sadhana. 40, the number 40, I think in most religions is a very spiritual number, and a lot of miracles can happen within that time. So we do a sadhana, which is a spiritual practice, a daily spiritual practice is what sadhana means. And anytime I have that practice, MaKenzie, insane things happen. When you talk about journaling and manifesting and calling things in and saying, yes, okay, universe, I'm ready. If you have that practice going, it will land. And I will say that to anybody. And I'll give you an example. I think people are like, well, what is she talking about? Well, high level, let's see how this story could go quick. I'm in LA. My sister and I have a nonprofit called GirlPower. That's what the podcast started, but it was a 10-week after-school program. We have a published book and affirmation cards and blah, blah, blah. Again, I've lived many lives. But we went to Marvel. How we got there? Probably Kundalini energy. I don't know. So we're in Marvel. We're like in the executive producer's office. It's so cool. If you're a Marvel fan, I've never really seen any of the movies. Don't hate me. But I was there, and all the props, all the signatures of all the actors, like all the movie posters. It was really fun place to be. And you could just feel like the lightheartedness of all the movies and Disney and all that fun stuff. And then Victoria Alonso, who I'm talking about, was like, hey, Teddy, like, cut the small talk. Like, what do you want? You know, I know you're here to ask. And that was okay. That she knew that was the meeting. And I was like, I really don't know. Like, I could be asking for $500, but it's like, why am I asking for $500? I'm not. You know, like, that doesn't go very far, especially in fundraising.
Right.
And so kind of just looked around the room and shot my shot and said, well, what about Thor's hammer? Like, why don't you give me Thor's hammer or something and we could auction it off? Because at the time, like Charity Buzz, and there was a lot of online platforms doing, Maze. I don't know if you know what that was, but it was like, go drink coffee with George Clooney, or George Clooney will invite you to Lake Como. Like, straight up, a lot of experiences like that were being auctioned off for nonprofits. So that was where my mindset was with it. So I shot my shot. So then she's like, I don't know. I mean, these are like pieces that you're going to have to, that belong to the studio. I can't just give them away. But I thought, yeah, you can. And that like funny confidence you have like a kid, you know, like just give it to me. It's right there. Anyway, she's like, I'll call you tomorrow. Long story short, she does call. she says, I am going to give you the Captain America shield. Chris Evans screen used, Avengers Endgame, pretty big deal.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And meanwhile, the timing of this is me in Kundalini Yoga teaching school. So I'm having a heavy duty practice, right? It's like at the forefront of my life. And then we have this prop. We don't really know what to do with it, right? So we're like, okay, we need to auction it off. That's the whole point, is to make money. And so it goes live. I think we had like a 2-week campaign, kind of long for a campaign. I don't know if anyone knows anything about campaigns, but we wanted it to have a little time. And we got to like $8,000. So that's okay, but that's not what we wanted. Even Russell Bobbitt, who is the prop manager and has been for 30 years of Marvel, was like, you could sell this on the street for $25,000. Like, that's what it would be.
Wow.
Okay, so then, yeah, we're only at 8K, so we had this number 25 in our head. It's not like, it doesn't feel as good. He should have probably never said that, and then 8K would have felt good. And so we're doing this Kriya set every day, Kriya for Elevation, my sister included. And it becomes my birthday, and it's the fundraiser is about to close. And I'm like, this sucks. You just kind of felt defeated. It's not what we wanted. We weren't going to be able to do all this inner city work we were going to with the money. And I thought, who do I know? Because I did luckily work in a private school in LA with some people that were in the industry. So I was friends with someone that was Robert Downey Jr.'s manager. And I said, hey, do you think you could give me Chris Evans' manager's name and number? It's like coming from a teacher. She's like, no. But she liked me, and she said, hey, here it is. Wow. And I don't know how she's going to react. Like, don't tell her I gave you the number kind of a thing. But then going back to, like, being open and, like, shooting your shot, the next day I was like, Sonia, we have, like, 24 hours. Like, I'm going to have to text her even though she might not answer me and it'll hurt my feelings. So then I do, and she responds, okay, let me ask him. Because we said, do you think that Chris could tweet this, right? Okay. Tweet this campaign for us, like a donation page, pretty much, like a GoFundMe. And then nothing, right? Crickets. It's my birthday. We're at the beach. We just go play. And then at about 4 o'clock, our phones start buzzing, and he did it. Like, how do you get Chris Evans to tweet about you? And he doesn't even just tweet about you. He is saying, the real superheroes are GirlPowerful, not me. Yeah, anyone could go look it up. Anyway, game changer stuff, right? So that's so fundraiser, sweet. I don't know where it ended up, but times 100 of, not 100, of 8,000, but we felt good.
Yeah.
And that I attribute to being in alignment, to be able to accept the gifts and the miracles that I did work hard. The human worked hard to get there. I asked for help. I asked for favors. I was doing the work. I was being genuine in my gifts to the girls in our program. And I know that through Kundalini, I was able to hold myself really strong and build this container to allow myself to, to accept the miracle. Sometimes we're so scattered and loose and full of fear and negativity that the good stuff can't find us. Mm-hmm. Like, if there's like just like light shooting around the world and some has money to throw at you, like, don't you want to be open and big and have that auric field and magnetic field to call it in? Mm-hmm. And I just know that the practice has stayed around this long for a reason, and people have taken many parts of it, right? Breath work. All those breath work practices are in Kundalini. Box breath, breath of fire, all the Wim Hof stuff. But no one's making this stuff up new, right? Everyone loves to put their name on it, though. Mm-hmm. And even my teachers, like, you're teaching Kundalini, like, adapted by Tedi Surge, because I don't do what I learned. That's Kundalini brought to the U.S. in the Western world by Yogi Bhajan, and that's, like, how I was taught. But I don't align with all of that because it's a lot of that masculine energy and the, like, I am your boss. And I don't want to be like that to any student because I wouldn't want to receive that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when a teacher like has so much of an ego to even think that they can tell you what to do or how to live your life, that's like almost abusive to someone that's looking at you asking for advice, and then I'm going to like, pretty much like take advantage of you.
Right.
And I think that that's what has happened a lot in a lot of yogic practices and teachers along the way, that it gets a little skewed when there's a person vulnerable, because we all are, asking for help,
Mm-hmm.
and then the wrong person has the tools to make you feel better. And then there's this weird connection, right? Oh, he or she made me feel better. I need to go to them for more medicine. When you have the medicine, you have the tools to do it. You just need the teacher, meaning like the guide, to throw the tools at you. And then you close your eyes and all the work's done inside. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with wearing a turban, wearing white, being on a stage. And Kundalini, their teachers are supposed to sit on a stage. You ever seen me sit on a box? When you do, come tell me. I've lost my mind. That's like, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
I'm not better than anybody. All I want to be is better than myself yesterday. Mm-hmm. Doesn't that make sense? I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah. And I like you saying that because there's so much power in that. Is like, I don't care what you're doing. I will help you. I'm here to be of service for you and help you guide. But I'm not here to be better than you or to boss you around. And I think with those mentalities, because you run into them, I mean, I'm going to say it. That was my last boss in real estate, where it's like, now look at what they have. They don't have anything.
Oh, really?
They people like that
They crash and burn.
They crash and burn.
And you're like, yeah. I saw your little smile. You're like, and that is karma.
And it is. And it's only with time. Like you may, and people may have been that culprit, in that vulnerable state and gotten taken advantage of. And it's hard to know exactly when you meet somebody, like, is this good? Is this bad?
Sure.
Like you have all these questions, right? But we just know, and I think our egos try to tell us more than what our actual gut and our feeling is. And that's difficult. But the other part that I really love that you said was like, none of this stuff is new. Breathwork is not new. Yoga is not new. Journaling is not new.
I think it's so hard right now to be on social media watching people claim these things. And it's so performative, and it is just going to detour so many people that need these tools to getting to where they're going, because some jerk off that has the biggest ego and wants to call breathwork hers. Mm-hmm. It is weird, MaKenzie. Like, yeah. I'm like, I can't be on here because this is wild.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said about it's Tedi's adaptiveness, right? Like, you get to adapt Kundalini the way that you want, because that's a part of you. It's just like mine with the podcast, with journaling, with coaching, like all of these things. Like, if you don't align with me, like I don't care. Go find somebody else.
Yeah.
And every client, we talked about this offline, is like, not every client is for you. And when you get to truly say, like, this does not serve me, this is not good. Like, would the money be great? Absolutely. But is my state of mind worth it? No.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth, right? That's the Satnam in Kundalini Satnam. The truth is your identity. When you feel out of whack, when your gut is saying this is not right, you have to build that muscle and start listening. If we were all listening to ourselves a little more and finding more time for nature, leaving our phones at home or putting them somewhere off, but with us for safety or whatever. But I just got home from Telluride, Colorado, and was blessed with an experience in nature. And we spent time quiet, right? And literally, like, my teacher would, like, shush you if you were going to try to be like, look at that tree. Like, like, you want to talk and you want to share in the fall colors and, like, what we were seeing. She's like, stop. To me, she's like, Teddy, stop.
That would be,
Like you just want to connect.
yeah.
But what a gift for her to tell me to stop talking. So actually, I got to receive so many messages that were meant for me to make me feel more calm and confident and into this next phase of my life and into this next quarter, like with the career. And I mean, nature does it for you guys.
It does. So this literally happened when I was driving. I left my house and coming to this podcast. So I'm a very like symbolism person. And when I walked out the front door, there was a praying mantis on the porch. And I was like, oh, that's like a sign, like it's wanting me to pay attention to something, right?
Yes.
And with one of my other podcast guests, Chad Hinkle, he on his social was talking about like sometimes it gets louder for you and like it's trying to make you pay attention even more. So this praying mantis like flew off the porch because I obviously scared it, and it tried to like land on the roof and it couldn't, and it landed on my car. And so in my mind, I was like, this praying mantis is like really trying to tell me something. Like I need to pay attention.
Yes.
And so I sat in my car for like 2 minutes and just watched this thing like crawl all over it. And it seemed to get closer, and it like wrapped around on the side, like right where I could see it on my side window. And I was just like, I was watching it breathe. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever watched a praying mantis like breathe like this. And like looking at all of its lines and just like really taking in what that praying mantis was. Like one of its I want to say antlers, that's not the right thing. Antennas was like shorter than the other.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what happened to it? Like, I'm curious what happened to it. So I look up the symbolism, and it's talking about like seeing a praying mantis is good luck and to be still. And I was like,
So I was going to say the slowdown.
the slowdown. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's been a lot of thoughts in my head today. Like, it's also telling me that like my slow morning was okay to have. Like that was nature giving me like a validation that I needed of like, no, stillness is where you're supposed to be.
I love that. Well, that's where the answers come. So sure, breath work and movement in a Kundalini class, but that always ends with, hands on your heart, one hand on your belly, or in Savasana. And that stillness is where you renew and regenerate and allow the mind to be softer and calmer so you can hear God talk to you, hear nature talk to you, hear the universe talk to you. I mean, we need to allow ourselves those slow mornings. As much as a real estate person would tell you, get your ass up at 5 a.m. or you're a loser.
Yeah.
How harsh is that? It's so funny, right? This like yoga side of me and the real estate side, and then you have the soft side, the feminine and the masculine. And I know the yoga practice brings those two worlds together and makes me feel, just more me. I run alpha, I run masculine just like you do. And that soft, we're just protecting our hearts though, MaKenzie. We're not masculine.
No.
You know what I mean? So anyone that puts that on you, screw them. And just know that like, just always go home to your heart. And like, I didn't know this. Maybe I would have if I really thought about it. But on my retreat, one gift that I received from a friend was that our hands are an extension of our heart, right? This is our heart space. This is all our heart. It could go into our aura. And like you helping people on an ambulance, what a gift. Like that kind of stuff. Like if we start like reframing what we do, and it's all from the heart, and our hands are a part of our heart, and we're sharing and hugging and touching, and even a high five at the gym, it means something. So I just like, that's why I like yoga. It softens you, and it allows you to just allow what is the truth to show up.
And I love what you said, because that is a lot of the work that I have been really searching on right now, is that identity. And letting a lot of those things go. And like you had mentioned, even on my social media, I literally erased the real estate. And I didn't realize that that was a limitation I put on myself. That was my own. Nobody told me to put that on my name or take that off of my name. And what I noticed was when I erased the real estate to MaKenzie, I then felt okay to share more about my podcast.
Uh-huh.
I then got to share more about my coaching
Yes.
because that's who I am. It's not MaKenzie is a real estate agent. No,
That's something you do.
it's something I do. And it's also just like being a paramedic. It was something that I did.
Mm-hmm.
But where underlying of all of those titles is MaKenzie.
Mm.
And what was really wonderful was, a client just giving me this 5-star rating and all of these things, and her writing in there like MaKenzie was able to figure it out.
Mm.
And I was like, yes, off of my connections as well. Like I was able to pull, like I'm not doing this by myself. Like I was able to pull somebody that I knew their story. I knew who they are. I've known them from experience in working in homes, and I want to allow them to share their gift, right? So let me connect these people and figure this out and see who I can like bring into this world by connections, which have been done through vulnerability, which is support. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is literally what I talk about.
Yeah.
Like this
I
is
love
an
that.
example.
Yes. And I'm proud of you for changing your name. It's just a little signal, right, to the universe or yourself or whatever, what you just shared. And I was driving here thinking, because I'm like super dialed into my yoga right now. And it's funny because I don't know, like who makes yoga their career? I don't know. Maybe I do. But there's all these voices. Well, what about real estate? What about podcasts? What, la, la, la. But then I was like, I don't care. On Tedi Talks, I have Tedi Talks, my Instagram, and I have Tedi Surge Realty. I kept it separate from the beginning. It probably was intuitive. But even Kundalini, right? I'm more like talking about that right now on my channel. And I'm just like, why would I hide a part of myself? That's not authentic, and if it's not for everybody, okay. But it's like most of the time when you open your heart and then you open your throat chakra and it's the truth, a lot of people resonate with that. Doesn't even mean they're attached to the modality. They just are seeing me be true to myself, and that gives them permission to be themselves as well. So that is what I would say back to the beginning, right? Who is Tedi? Someone that mentors and truly like lives up to that standard of, being herself and allowing you to be the same. And like, just showing up every day the best I can, but doing it in a way to hold space for a community to rise as well and to not be, scared to change and to grow, because we need to all grow. I'm not anywhere close to where I want to end up, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. And I'm honest and vulnerable about that. But I hope that allows other people to want to open up and share and have these raw conversations and just, be yourself. I know it's like cliche to say, but I mean, that's why the phrase exists, because a lot of people resonate with it. You just have to be brave enough to do that. And when you feel like something's icky, don't do it. Yeah. Like, come on. If it feels icky, those are the wrong people.
Yep.
Yoga's not performative. You don't need a 6-pack to do it. You don't need, you don't need anything. You don't need white clothes. You don't even need a yoga mat. You can borrow mine. Right. Like, I just truly, like, step into, like, knowing that there's other things that are an opportunity for you, like waiting on the other side of all this fear.
Fear is definitely debilitating, and I think it's something that, we become really great at being chameleons. And
That's so true.
I was very proud of that for a long time. I was like, I can just like adapt to whatever I need, because that was actually a trauma response. That being a chameleon was, how can I show least resistance in a situation where I don't get noticed? And it was, one of these things where I did pride myself off of it, because it made me very, diverse, I would say. But the more you get bold and courageous is really when people are like, oh my gosh, you've arrived. You're here. Like, here she is.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my gosh, that's what you needed. I needed myself to be bold. I needed myself to allow myself for that. And I've always been a loudmouth person and like opening up and sharing what I have thought, but never to the point where it's like, but I want to make a difference with it. Like now I'm intentional. And I think, that divine spirit has always led me to that and doing those things. But it's the self-realization of like, oh, this is who I am.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a self-realization fellowship?
No, I haven't.
Pretty cool.
Really?
That's where I grew up in a church. You've said that a couple times. Paramahansa Yogananda. You should look him up.
Okay, I know that because this is gonna, if my sisters are listening. So my biological dad studied Paramahansa Yogananda. And honestly, like that's I would say that part of my life I hated. It was not good. It was very negative.
The study or what your dad did with it?
My dad, just my biological dad in general.
The relationship.
The relationship.
I see. Okay.
And so I have always tied like I remember him when we were kids and us girls would fight or something. And he's like, you guys need Paramahansa Yogananda. And so we would sit, us three girls, in a circle.
Okay.
And we would hold each other's hands and we would say Paramahansa Yogananda. And really try to focus and look at him. And if you've seen a picture of him, I'm going to say he looks creepy as fuck. And he's like, okay, now like envision him like kind of as this lower third eye.
Is your dad from Idaho?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, sorry.
He's this is why I don't have a relationship with him actually.
Okay.
He's a very interesting man. And
I've never heard of sitting in a circle holding hands calling in Paramahansa Yogananda. But okay.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds like an abuse of the tool.
Yes.
What we were talking about earlier.
Yes. And so that's my relationship with that. I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of really great things behind it, but I already know that like in my brain, I am like shut off
from that. Well, Self-Realization Fellowship is saints of all religions, actually. So you have said that. So maybe has Jesus there, has other saints.
Yeah.
And I like it because it keeps it open like that.
Yeah. And I'm totally like, I mean, I say this about being shut off from that, but I think it's the tie between.
Sure. Dad hurt you. Dad.
Yeah.
I don't like my dad.
Yes.
I don't like Paramahansa Yogananda. I don't blame you.
Exactly. I mean, and it's funny that I say this because I know my sisters listening to this, like they're cracking up. My mom listening to this cracking up because it was a misuse of the tool.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look back on, there's been a lot of like childhood things I've been working through. And I knew at a very, very, very young age, like this man is not good. I do not want to be around him. Like I went to
your father.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like I knew that intuitively. There was examples that were, I would say validated by that. I had a very different experience than my older sisters. There's just a lot between that. And it's also where I've really gotten, like, I've known from a young age, like, there is a higher power. And there's a higher power because I was protected through all of these situations to being that strong person and saying, I don't want this in my life. Like, I was 12 years old and I was like, I don't want my biological dad in my life. Like, we went to court. We, got visitation for just my mom. Like, I knew.
So you have a strong gut intuition and you've been listening since you were little, which is pretty cool. And not only that, like that no one said, you know what? No, MaKenzie, you're going to stay with your dad. Because that's when things shift for kids. All of us have these gifts to listen to our heart and listen to our gut. And a lot of people just say, no, honey, that's not reality, right? And then they turn off to that. So that's pretty cool that you got to stay connected.
And it was, I will say it was definitely challenging. I mean, I know, the court made us do some different things. Like I had to go to personal counseling. There was like different visitations, you know, there was a lot around that. But at the end of the day, I know at that, it's crazy that this is all coming up because I literally like 3 weeks ago. No, it's not bad because I literally was writing in my journal the other night. Like I'm starting to make a book. Like that's, you know, and so talking about it is like very freeing for me right now. And I know the podcast is for you, but like what was really neat about that was like I got challenged, but I stayed in my truth. And the truth showed itself.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And that's and from a young age, that's all I've ever known is like if you speak the truth, like whether somebody else is mad at you or against you or challenging you, like if you stay in your truthfulness, it will speak. And people will know and people will understand who those snakes are, and karma will come after them.
And that's freedom. Right? You feel free now that you said what you needed to say and you did what you needed to do. And I think freedom's a complicated word these days, but freedom is like freedom, like free your dome, like free your mind, free yourself from these chains and these limitations that we put on ourselves. That's a phrase in Kundalini, like free your dome, freedom.
I've never heard that, and I love that.
People come with when we talk about mantra, a lot of people connect. We do a lot of I am statements, even so people want to be free, right? I want to be free, like financially free. I want to be free from this or that old story or whatever. Yeah, free your mind. So that's another thing that you can do through yoga is connecting, the self-connection and that self-compassion. I think that comes through in yoga as well. Is like, I love myself enough. I care about myself enough. Even if it's messy and confusing and sad sometimes, I'm going to get to my mat. I'm going to get to a class and I'm going to take care of myself so I can ultimately be free.
And I think that is the true like self-love. Like and you did point it out, like it's these phrases that like are so catchy right now, I feel like, but it's like, do you actually know what that means? Like, are you actually exploring that yourself? Are you actually feeling that feeling of self-love? Like it's not the saying, it's the literal doing and feeling.
Yeah, it's in the work. It's like everyone talks about the work. It's work. Are you kidding me? I highly doubt MaKenzie leaves the class without shedding a tear. You know, you release. You allow yourself to be there, be present, not be attached to, you know, any judgment from yourself or others in the room. And you just are, you know, you're truly present. Like, be present. That's another one. How do I be present? Well, mantra. If you're connected to a chant or you're connected to a prayer we're saying, the mind doesn't have enough space to do your grocery list and say, oh my gosh, in 30 minutes I have to leave early. Like, it doesn't have space to do that. So you truly can form this space for yourself to be present. And that's a gift in itself, because we all live in the past. We all want the future. But all we have is this present moment. Like, I don't want to be negative, but who knows what happens when we leave this building? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. We truly just have now. And to like live in this moment and feel alignment and just be is really powerful stuff. And it's confusing for a lot of people because everyone wants you to write down your goals. Where are you going to be in 5 years? Like all that stuff. And sure, that's part of the human experience, but I tap into the now because that's all I have and that's all I can kind of control.
And it's all you can like truly consume as well.
Consume. Yeah. And why not like experience the now, right? We're all like, oh, I'm bored. Or, you know, you're waiting for your next trip to Disneyland. And it's like, why don't you go find those joyful things in your day-to-day life? They exist. Even if you're here in Boise and, you know, it's not your favorite, right? You don't like it here anymore. You don't like the things that have changed, or you want to move because you would rather be in a big city. Like sometimes I'm like, I think I need to go back to a city, right? And just have better food, better entertainment, better. I do that too. I'm not perfect in any way, but I also love the slow down here, and it's allowed me and so many blessings to just even have conversations like this with nice people that in LA sometimes it seems performative and not authentic. So thank you.
I appreciate that. As we wrap up, like, how can people find you? Because you are also a facet of many different talents.
Yeah. Tedi Talks will lead you in my direction. TEDITALKS. Never said the talks part. Just waiting for TED Talks to call me and be like, that's a little too close for copyright. But whatever. Until then, registered trademark stuff. And then the Girl Powerful podcast. If you're a podcast listener, check me out.
Yeah.
Me and my sister interview women, all kinds of women, from TV celebrities to wellness gurus to female founders and athletes. And we lean on the concept of tips. Like, we ask them to bring 3 tips of X, Y, and Z. So it's really digestible and short, like 30 minutes max. Yeah. Again, my name's Tedi Surge, though. That's who I am.
I'm just very privileged to have you in my life and have you, kind of mold through many different modalities of what we get to do and sharing your story and who you are. And I hope the listeners got some tips from her today on, some gems that she gave out and listening to a little bit more about my side as well. And I will have all of her information in the show notes. So please go give her a follow, go give her podcast a follow. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Raw Thoughts Podcast. I'd appreciate it if you could follow, like, subscribe, and share with anybody that you think would be interested in this. You can also head over to my website at rawthoughtspodcast.com and see any other guests that have been on the episodes. You could also go over to Instagram and follow at rawthoughts.podcast. I would really appreciate it, and always send me a message if you're interested in being a guest or any feedback.